The story you're about to see is a big fat lie. No names have been changed to protect anybody.
There's no sports league unlike it anywhere in the world, where cartoons and football come together. This is the United States Cartoon Football League, celebrating its 40th anniversary.
Let's get ready to rumble!
And now, the USCFL Network, in association with YouTube, presents the USCFL Postgame Show. Here's once again is Robbie Graham.
Greetings, cartoon and football fans. This is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network welcoming you to the quarterfinals of the USCFL's 40th anniversary season. We are now in the home stretch. Only 8 games left to determine who will play in Disney Bowl 4 and who will win. The question for the next 2 weeks is who will move on to the semifinals and who will go home. At least for this weekend, half of this question will be answered. After a brief pause, we will talk about and present the highlights of Game 25 between the Red Hot Classic Cartoon All-Stars and the Marvel Comics All-Stars from New Orleans.
It's a Mardi Gras party in New Orleans. I got to dance with the Mardi Gras queen. So give me a little Dixieland and everybody clap their hands at the Mardi Gras party, yeah, in New Orleans. I wanna go down on Bourbon Street. That's where Rex and Cole must be. They party all night long, dancing and singing them songs at the Mardi Gras party, yeah, in New Orleans. Cotton candy, cake and ice.
Welcome back. 2021 has been a milestone year so far. But in 2021, an old team with classic players are dominating their opponents. While the classic cartoon All-Stars haven't put up monster numbers on the scoreboard, their numbers are good enough to make it to the quarterfinals. While the classics are enjoying a resurgence, the Marvel Comics All-Stars were one loss away from elimination, but dominated against the Cartoon Network All-Stars in Game 18. But on a rain-soaked afternoon in New Orleans, these two teams would determine which team would be first to advance and which team would be the first to falter. In the first quarter, it looked as if Marvel Comics would prevail, as they put up the only points of the quarter with a Spider-Woman field goal and a She-Hulk to Gambit touchdown pass. In the second quarter, it was the Classics who would put up the scoring exclusively, as Woody Woodpecker threw 2 touchdown passes to Olive Oil and Betty Boop, respectively. An underdog field goal gave the Classics a 17-10 halftime lead. The rain made it hard to put up more touchdowns for both teams. The only scoring done in the second half was courtesy of Underdog with 3 more field goals, and a Spider-Woman field goal was the only score Marvel Comics had. The Classics held on to win 26-13 in the deluge and are the first to advance to the semifinals. However, their 26 points might prevent them to play at home again unless the winners of the next 3 games can't do better. As for the stats of this game, beginning with the Classics, Woody Woodpecker finished 26 of 42 for 316 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Chili Willie carried the ball 31 times for 102 yards. Olive Oil continues to dominate all receivers this year, as she added 10 receptions for 180 yards and 1 touchdown to her total. Gabby Gator led the defense with 6 tackles and 5 assists. Underdog finished with 14 points to his already impressive stats this season. For Marvel Comics, She-Hulk went 17 of 45 for 182 yards, 1 touchdown, and 5 interceptions. Wolverine carried the ball 28 times for 139 yards. Spider-Woman led the receivers with just 3 receptions for only 45 yards. The Beast of the X-Men led the defense with 5 tackles and 3 assists. Spider-Woman finished with 7 points, and Marvel Comics are eliminated and finishes in 8th place. And here is how the highlights of this game looked on screen. I did fail to mention that, but as you saw at the end of the highlight reel, Speed Racer was the game MVP with 4 tackles, 6 assists, and 2 interceptions. After a brief pause, find out who will join the Classics in the semifinals as we talk about and present the highlights of Game 26 between the Modern Cartoon All-Stars and the defending champion Filmation All-Stars from Richmond, Virginia. Welcome back. For all you doubters out there that climate change doesn't exist, think about this. For only the 3rd time in USCFL history, a game was played in a blizzard. The last time this happened was in 2019, when the comic strip All-Stars and the Warner Brothers All-Stars played in a snowstorm 2 days after the 4th of July. The game also marked the last time there was a shutout too, as Warner Brothers beat the comic strip All-Stars 20-0. In last night's game in Richmond, Virginia, the Modern Cartoon All-Stars and the defending champion Filmation All-Stars slushed around in the snow to try to advance to the semifinals. Last year, the Modern team defeated Filmation 29-22 on the strength of 29 unanswered points, and with both She-Ra and He-Man out of the game with injuries. They say that revenge is a dish best served cold, but I don't think that this is what that old saying had in mind. The scoring began with an unusual play. Midway through the first quarter, Prince Adam, who was the game MVP against the Sci-Fi All-Stars in Game 20, stepped in for Spinnerella and fumbled the ball as he tried to cross the goal line. Fortunately for him, left offensive tackle Marshall Bravestar was there to recover the fumble for the first points of the game. It marked the first time ever in USCFL history where an offensive lineman scored a touchdown in a game. The quarter ended with Spinnerella running it in from 11 yards out to give the defending champs a 14-0 lead after the first quarter. Just as the second quarter started, Filmation quarterback Shadow Weaver of the She-Ra series intercepted a Sonic the Hedgehog pass and ran it in from 52 yards out. With about 3.5 minutes left in the half, Modern team punter Tails of the Sonic the Hedgehog series tried to get his team going by attempting a pass off of a fake punt but failed. Sailor Moon put up the only points of the game for the Modern team with a 34-yard field goal. 13 seconds later, She-Ra fired the only touchdown pass of the game to her castmate Glimmer, who took it to the house from 78 yards out as the defending champs went into the warm locker room leading 28-3. The second half belonged to the defending champs with a trio of Adora field goals, and Prince Adam made up for his first quarter mistake with a 14-yard touchdown run with under 7 minutes left in the game to secure a 44-3 blowout. The defending champs moves on to the semifinals while the Modern team is eliminated and finishes in 7th place. As for the stats in this hot game, beginning with the Modern team, Sonic the Hedgehog finished 24 of 45 for 216 yards and 4 interceptions. Kyle Broflovsky carried the ball 33 times for 163 yards. Guy of the Captain Planet series led the receivers with 9 receptions for 88 yards. Chef of South Park led the defense with 5 tackles, 1 assist, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble. Sailor Moon had all the scoring with 3 points. For the defending champs, She-Ra finished 11 of 26 for 217 yards and 1 touchdown. Spinnerella carried the ball 34 times for 162 yards and 1 touchdown. Tila of the He-Man series led the receivers with 4 receptions for just 54 yards. Katra led the defense with 7 tackles, 3 assists, and 1 sack. Shadow Weaver, the player of the game, had 3 tackles, 3 assists, 2 interceptions, and the pick 6 she had in the second quarter. Adora finished with 14 points. And while you look at the highlights of this game as it looked on screen, I need to get a hot cup of coffee. After one final pause, we will preview the next two quarterfinal games along with the answer to last week's trivia question and this week's question. I still need to thaw out some more. Welcome back. Now that I've thought out some from describing that cold game, here is the answer to last week's trivia question. We asked true or false. Before Kim Possible hit the airwaves, the Disney Channel had a policy in which any show produced on the network couldn't go beyond 3 seasons or 65 episodes. If you guessed true, you are correct. Kim Possible changed this policy in 2011. The movie Kim Possible So the Drama was to have been the conclusion of the series. But when this movie ended with KP and Ron Stoppable kissing on prom night, fans of the show went on a campaign to have the show continue for at least one more season. Disney heard this and produced a 4th season of the show as KP and Ron became an item, and the series ended with them graduating from high school. Before Kim Possible, however, DuckTales also ran for 4 seasons, but the show was produced for Disney's block of shows in the late 80s to early 90s called the Disney Afternoon, which was produced more for viewing on broadcast TV instead of cable. Now for this week's trivia question. The category is When You Wish Upon an All-Star. The degree of difficulty is pro, as this involves USCFL history. Take a guess. You might be correct. The question is, all of the teams in the USCFL are all-star teams, but which team was the first to carry the surname All-Stars? Is the correct answer A, Jim Henson All-Stars, B, Disney All-Stars, C, Warner Brothers All-Stars, or D, Hanna-Barbera All-Stars? We'll have the answer for you next week. And that's it for Week 13 of the USCFL's 40th anniversary season. Next week, the quarterfinals will conclude with 2 climate-controlled games, as we will talk about and present the highlights of Game 27 between the Disney All-Stars and the 80s All-Stars in a Disney Bowl 1 rematch from Miami, and the highlights of Game 28 between the Fox All-Stars and Team Canada from Edmonton. And until next Sunday, this is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network wishing you peace. Take care and stay safe. If you would like to help the victims and families of the building collapse in Surfside, Florida, please get in touch with any of the following Miami agencies. Thank you.